In today's episode of the podcast, I'll be getting you up to speed on all my latest works in progress, as well as one particular work in progress I've had on the needles for a long time. And that saga is finally coming to an end. And at the end of the podcast, I'm going to be sharing with you my first ever skein of handspun yarn spun by yours truly. So grab a cup of something cozy and let's dive in. Hello, and welcome to the Wool Needles Hands Knitting Podcast. My name is Taylor, and I will be your host. This is a podcast primarily about knitting, though I do get up to other fiber-related topics from time to time. I'm coming to you from Henderson, Nevada, which is a small town outside of Las Vegas, Nevada, in the Southwest United States. This is where I am from and where I live with my husband Brandon, our two boys Angus and Ronan, our dog Pepper, and our house cat Oscar. Thank you so much for taking the time to stop by the channel today to check out the podcast. If you are a returning viewer or subscriber, welcome back. And if you are new here, welcome to this little neck of the woods. I would love for you to introduce yourself down below in the comment section. Even if you are a returning viewer and subscriber, leave your name if you don't mind, and also let us know where you are coming from. You don't need to be specific. I love to hear from you. I love to see where you're viewing from, and I love to refer to you by your first name. All of that is really helpful and just really great for building the community here at the Wool Needles Hands podcast. Okay, I am excited to get into it with you guys today. It's a little bit later in the day than I typically film. We've had a pretty relaxed Sunday. We took it slow getting things started, so I decided I was going to push filming the podcast back a little bit. So I like it though. I like that it's a little later. The light is not quite as intense in here. It just feels a little bit more cozy. So it's lovely to be here with you guys today to share some of the things that I have sitting behind me. Today I'm having a tea that I haven't had in a while. This is by Tazo. It's glazed lemon loaf. Someone asked in the comments if I wouldn't mind sharing what I'm drinking in my cup each time. If I can remember to do so, I will. And I remember to do it today just because it's been a while since I've had this. So this is by Tazo. It's glazed lemon loaf. It's absolutely delicious. I even threw a few blueberries in there because it gives it a little bit of a nice look, and you can actually taste it a little bit, and it's a nice pairing with the lemon. So that is what I'm having today. And I really want to get into it because you guys, the sock saga is coming to a close. So if you've been watching for the last several episodes of the podcast, you know that I am working on a pair of socks for my dad. These are them. These are a pair of vanilla socks in the sense that they are just plain stockinette socks. However, the jumping off point for these socks, was the One Sock by Kate Atherly for the Fiber Company. I'll link to this pattern down below. So that's kind of where I started when it came to the sizing and the initial casting on and all of that. However, there's been a lot of modifications since, and if you've been watching the podcast since I've been talking about these, you know all of the different ins and outs of the things that I've been doing to these socks. So I've had these on the needle since early January, and they have taken me a lot longer than I had expected. So I think that it really isn't about not working on them. I mean, I'm not working on them exclusively, so I guess you could say that that's part of it, but I have thoroughly enjoyed having these on the needles. I do have some issue with the yarn and the needles. I feel like this particular yarn weight, it's Patons Kroy sock yarn, which is really more of a true sport weight yarn. This particular yarn on a size 1 needle can get tight, a little bit cumbersome and just kind of tiring on my hands. And maybe that's why it's slow going. Maybe it's because I knit my socks 2 at a time that makes it a little bit slower, but I haven't had, it hasn't felt too slow for me. I just figure, they're there. I enjoy working on them and I love seeing them come together at the same time. So I've really enjoyed it, but it's been like a saga of sock. It's my sock story is like a saga. It just has taken a long time. And I feel like that's going to be a common thread with knitting socks 2 at a time for me. I think they're just going to take longer for various different reasons. And so I'll probably just be referring to my sock projects from now on as my sock saga. But this sock saga is coming to a close because you can see here that I'm getting to the end of the toe. So I just started decreasing the toe and shaping the toe this morning. And I was really hoping I was just going to be able to knock it out before I started filming the podcast today. But I mean, I did what I could, and this is where I'm at. So I'm so close. I'll be finishing these tonight for sure and getting them kitchenered closed. And then that way I can give them to my dad and he can have them to wear before it starts warming up. I know our weather, and I think this is going to happen in a lot of places in the country, is going to dip. We're going to get a dip in temperature soon. And so that might be great for my dad to have these socks when things kind of cool down a little bit before the temperatures start rising again. So that is my socks for dad. They're getting close to being finished. I subbed out a boomerang heel as opposed to the heel that is laid out in the design, and I love it. I love the boomerang heel. We'll see after I get it all finished and I put it onto some sock blockers. Getting close to being finished. These will absolutely be finished next time we meet for the podcast, and you'll probably see me pop a finished photo on Instagram soon. I don't even know, what is in the bag? I want to cast on another pair of socks for myself with a ball of yarn that I commandeered from my mom's stash. So I kind of figure, because I really enjoy having a pair of socks on the go at any given time, especially because I'm knitting them 2 at a time, and it's just so much more satisfying knowing that they're getting done at the same time. I kind of think I'm always going to have a pair of socks on the needles. And I saw this ball of yarn in my mom's stash, and it's really lovely. It's by Plymouth Yarn. It's called Zeno. It's 75% superwash, 25% nylon, 75% superwash wool, 25% nylon, your classic sock yarn. It is made in Italy by Plymouth Yarn Company. Anyway, that's the ball band for you. And then this is what the yarn looks like. How pretty is that? Look at those colors together. It's very similar to Patons Kroy Effects. It has that, zebra spun look to it. Ugh, I really love that. Beautiful. So this is what I am going to be splitting in half. Because of knitting socks 2 at a time, I'm going to split this in half, and I'm going to knit myself a pair of socks with this yarn. I think it's absolutely gorgeous. So watch this space, because a fresh pair of socks is coming. All right, so this is what I have so far of my Atlas sweater that I'm knitting for Brandon, who is my husband. Now, this is going to be my submission to the Wool Needles Hands Break the Curse Knit Along. We are knitting sweaters for special men in our lives. If you would like to know more about this, check the community tab. Check this post that you see right here over on Instagram. You can also read down below in the description box. I have all the guidelines laid out down below if you would like to join us for this knit along. But this is my submission. The Atlas sweater is a Lopi inspired colorwork yoke sweater by Jared Flood from Brooklyn Tweed. It's gorgeous. It has 2 different versions. There's one that has waist shaping, and then one that narrows down at the body. And they show that particular version on a man, and it looks really great on the man in the photos. And that man kind of has a similar, he looks like he's of a similar height and similar body shape to my husband. My husband might be slightly slimmer, but overall the length of the torso, all of that looked pretty similar. And so it was really refreshing to be able to see it on his body and then compare to how that might look on my husband's body, to kind of see it on a masculine frame. And so that's ultimately one of the reasons I chose this, is it had that weight, that kind of body tapering that I think looks really great on a masculine frame, and also because it's just an absolutely gorgeous sweater. So that is the sweater that I am knitting here. Now, I don't have much to show because I just got started, but there are some things I want to chat about here. So I'm just going to show you really quick where I'm at with this. I decided I wanted to start knitting the sleeves of this sweater first, and so that's what I'm doing, and this is really all I have to show. It's not really a ton. So here is what I have so far of the Atlas sweater. And I'm knitting this in Green Mountain Spinnery yarn. This is Weekend Wool in the colorway Plum. Now this is going to be my main color. It's a really beautiful kind of purple navy color, and this is the main color. Now the color work for this particular sweater, I purchased 2 different contrasting colors to go with this main color. And if you've been watching, you know that I've been going back and forth on some options on how to pair those colors to get the best contrast in the color work. I landed on this first, realized that the contrast is just really not great. There's a lot of blending going on that kind of blends that gray and yellow together, turning it into kind of one strange color that I don't really love. And so I decided to swap out the placement of those colors here. And I like this one better. I think it's a little bit easier to see the color work. The contrast looks to be a little bit better. But when I sat on it for a while and thought about it, I just realized that I just wasn't loving it. And so I finally decided to do that thing where you take a black and white photo to see what the contrast looks like. And I don't know why I've never tried this before. I know that you can do this. When you take a black and white photo of color work like this, you can see what the contrast is like between the different colors in the black and white, like the monochrome photo. And actually, I'll show you really quick what happens when I do that. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to take a photo of this on my phone. And I'm going to make it black and white, and I'm going to just hold it up to the screen just as a real quick example. And then maybe I'll just pop the picture up too for you to see it. So let's go over to black and white. Okay. So this is the swatch I just took a picture of on my phone. And here is the picture. Now, when you look at everything here, it looks like you can really only see two contrasting colors, the white and the dark. You can very, very faintly see any other color in there, and that's because the yellow and the gray just don't contrast well. There's just a very poor contrast. And I mean, you can see that just looking at the swatch here as well. So that was an issue. The picture was just like a huge eye-opening moment for me. Like, hello, this isn't going to work. I need to do something else if I really want the impact to be there in the yoke of this sweater. And I do. This is going to be for my husband. I want it to have a nice, I want there to be high impact to the yoke. Not something that's like obnoxious, but I want it to be noticeable because it is a really gorgeous motif along the yoke of that sweater, and I wanted it to stand out. So I decided I'm not going to change the main color because I have already so much of that main color, and I really do love that plum navy color. So I decided I was just going to go stash diving to find something to swap out to replace the mustard. Of the three colors, I felt like if I was going to replace one, it really needed to be that mustard. And I don't have that. Hold, let me grab it. Okay, and what I settled on to replace the mustard that is very similar in gauge to the Weekend wool is Lion Brand Fisherman's wool. So this is Lion Brand Fisherman's wool. I have some of this in my stash. My camera wants to focus on the face on my shirt. So the three colors I'll be pairing together will be these three. So this is the plum navy, the natural ecru Lion Brand Fisherman's wool, and the natural gray Weekend wool over here as well. Now, if I took a quick photo of these three colors on my phone for you to be able to see the contrast, I'm going to make it black and white. Okay, so I've made it black and white, and you can see that there is a very clear contrast of the three colors. You can see three colors there, and that shows me that this is going to be a nice contrast in the final piece. And so that is what I'm going to be doing. So for my husband's atlas, I will be using, instead of this mustard color that I'm showing here, I will be using the natural color by Lion Brand Fisherman's wool, or by Lion Brand in Lion Brand Fisherman's wool, which I love. This is 100% natural, untreated wool, and I think it's going to go really well with the Weekend wool. So I'm excited about that. So that is where we are with Brandon's Atlas sweater. I've just cast it on to the sleeves. I will be knitting these sleeves two at a time just to make it a little bit easier and just to have it come together at the same time. And then I will carry on with the body of the sweater and finally that beautiful yoke. So that's where I'm at right now. I know it's not much of a start, but I'm not racing along. I figure if we run the Wool Needles Hands Break the Curse knit along until May, that gives me plenty of time to make at least good headway on this. And then if we need to push it off into the summer just to give folks a little bit more time, that's fine with me too. So, I'm not in any serious hurry because he's not going to wear it until the weather cools down again anyway. So that's where we're at with that. Okay, let's take a quick look at my, this is my Winter Cuddler. Yes, is it Winter Cuddler? What is this? This is by Mama in a Stitch, and I think it's called the Cozy Cuddler, Winter Cuddler. It's a blanket that I'm knitting for a good friend of mine who's expecting a baby early April. I had the intention of having this finished by this weekend for the baby shower, which was yesterday, but I just wasn't able to get it finished. And that's okay because really I just wanted to have it for her for when the baby came. So I have a whole nother month to get it finished for that. But I mean, it's going to be done much sooner than that because I'm already on the second half of the blanket essentially. And I love it. I love this design. So this is by Mama in a Stitch, Jessica Potaz or Potash. I'm not sure how you pronounce her last name, but she's Mama in a Stitch on Ravelry or on Instagram, and you can find all of her really gorgeous patterns there. But this is it. It's super bulky yarn. I'm using Loops and Threads, which is a yarn that Michaels sells. It's one of their store brands. It's 80% acrylic and 20% baby alpaca. And I think it's a really beautiful, super bulky option for something like this that needs to be kind of easy care, washable, and also super soft. And I love it. And it's hypoallergenic. So just in case there's any kind of a fiber allergy, I doubt this would cause anything to flare up. Who's to say? I'm not really sure, but this is just a really good bet. And I love the halo as well. You can really see, and I showed this on the last episode, those really pretty alpaca fibers in the halo. And it's really lovely. So I'm hoping to have this finished in the next week and a half, hopefully in the next week, as long as it's finished when the little baby comes, which is early April, then we're in good hands. So I just wanted to give you a quick update on where we are with that. It's growing and it's absolutely gorgeous. I wouldn't mind having one for myself for the back of my chair where I knit because it's just such a cozy blanket. I've enjoyed having it on my lap while I work on it, which is one of those things about knitting blankets that's kind of a, you don't think about it initially as being, you know, a perk to knitting a blanket, but it totally is because the bigger the blanket becomes, the more of a blanket you have on your lap. And unless it's really hot outside, it's very pleasant. So I've been enjoying that, but that's what I have with that. Now, I want to share with you something that I finished. So this is going to be a finished object, but we're moving into spinning territory. So as you may know, I have recently gotten into spinning. I just purchased, which you can see right there. I purchased a Lendrum double treadle spinning wheel and I have been practicing 15 minutes every day since I purchased it or since the spinning wheel arrived. And I'm really excited to share with you my first hand spun skein of yarn. So a couple of things. Okay. So here it is. Dun, da, 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 da. This is Blueface Luster with Sari Silk. So Sari Silk are little like shreds of kind of sari fabric that have been carded into the fiber. This is Blueface Luster and Sari Silk, and it's really, really beautiful. And here we go. Okay. My first ever skein of hand spun yarn. You guys, look at that. I made that, or I spun that on my spinning wheel, and I am so proud of it. I know it's so slubby, and there's parts in here that are completely unspun, and then there's also some parts in there, like, I don't know if you can see, but there's some curly cues in there. But this is, I am so proud of this skein of yarn. It's lovely. I love the color. I love the natural color that it has, and then those little pops of Sari Silk color that come through. I am just so smitten with this. I can't even tell you. But this is it. This is my first skein of homespun yarn. Now, can you call it hand spun if you're spinning it on a spinning wheel, or is that only if you're spinning it on a drop spindle? And then you call it homespun if it's on a spinning wheel? It doesn't matter. I see both used, and I don't know which, I don't know. I don't think it matters, but you can let me know in the comment section. But this is my first skein of homespun yarn, and I'm so excited about it. I brought this out because this is a skein, or this is what's left of a skein of yarn from Knit Collage. So I did not spin this. This is from Knit Collage, but it is hand spun. And it has a similar look to kind of what I have going here, which made me proud. I know this is it's supposed to be art yarn. It's supposed to be thick and thin and inconsistent. That's what it's supposed to look like. And then it has a whole bunch of other just like little surprises in there too that are really pretty. But I thought it was kind of cool because my yarn had a similar like resemblance to this Knit Collage yarn, and it made me very proud. So I just wanted to share that with you. I don't know. I'm so proud of it. It's like a little yarn baby that I've brought into this world from my spinning wheel. I don't know what I'm going to do with this. I don't know if I'm going to just keep it like this to look at it and to have it to remind me of my first yarn spin, or if I'm going to turn it into something. I don't know what I could turn it into because I really don't have very much here. Where's my scale? Let's find out how much this is. Some of it I still have, and it's kind of in curly cues and little odds and ends in my fiber basket over there. But let's see how much this came to. 90 grams. That's actually pretty good. I was expecting it to be less than that. So this is 90 grams of what is anything from fingering, well, not even really, sport weight to like super bulky. It's just so inconsistent and variegated in its thickness. And I honestly don't know what I could turn this into. I mean, if you look right here, there's still so much of that like really tightly spun kind of coiling and energy in there that just, I don't think I could really knit much with that and have it come out right. And I did soak this and thwack it, and I let it dry under a little bit of weight. Not a ton, but just enough to kind of pull some of that twist out just a little bit. So I don't know. I kind of think I just want to keep it like this and save it and look at it and just have it remind me of what my first foray into spinning, you know, resulted in. So I'm really proud of that. So that is my first hand spun, homespun skein of yarn. Now I did receive some things in the mail recently that I ordered on Etsy to kind of go with my spinning. Now I know that I'm probably being a little hasty when it comes to ordering really lovely fiber for spinning when I'm so new and I'm only really producing something like that, which is less than ideal, and I get it. But I couldn't help it. I wanted to get my hands on some combed top, which is what this is referred to. So this is 100% merino combed top, and this is from One Thursday, who is Nicole. I ordered this from her about 2 days after I ordered my spinning wheel, because I thought, okay, I'm ordering a spinning wheel, I'm gonna need some fiber. I had some fiber already that I've had for years that I knew would be like practice fiber, but I wanted to get my hands on some of this really lovely comb top braided fiber that I see all the time on Instagram and Etsy and all of that. I wanted to feel it. I wanted to see how it was dyed because it's fascinating to me. And I just wanted it to be there as like a motivating factor. So yeah, I get it. I mean, it's not, you don't need to dabble in the really high end stuff when you're just getting started, but I couldn't resist. So this is from One Thursday. She has a shop on Etsy and she does some of the most beautiful hand dyed comb top braids. This is again 100% merino. It's gorgeous. This is called, oh, for Pete's sake, I will put it up on the screen. I believe this is called Irish Blanket. Oh, I might be wrong. Irish Plaid Blanket or something like that. I'm gonna pop it up on the screen so you can see. But this is so beautiful. I love these colors. I'm not sure when I'm going to have the courage to spin this, so it's going to sit in my stash for right now. When I received that, and this is really awesome. This always just makes my day. I ordered this from One Thursday, and it was the first time I've ever ordered anything from One Thursday or had really known much about One Thursday on Etsy. Nicole, that's her business. But I placed the order because I fell in love with her work. Her dye jobs are absolutely beautiful. And so I fell in love, placed the order. When I received the order in the mail and opened up the invoice, on the invoice was a letter from Nicole. And she said that she watches the podcast and enjoys the podcast and is familiar with my yarn. All of these lovely words that she left for me on the invoice. And then she also included a couple of samples to go with it for trying out her additional colorways. And I was floored by the generosity. I had no idea that she watched the podcast or anything like that. And that always just makes my day. It always just kind of like fills you up and lifts you up. And I love that. So Nicole, if you happen to be watching this, thank you so much. You made my day more than you could possibly realize. One of the samples that she sent me was absolutely stunning. It was called New Hampshire. Wait, no. Yeah, it was called New Hampshire. And I went and immediately ordered a full braid of that particular colorway. And it's this one here. Look at these colors, you guys. The braid is starting to come apart, so I want to hold it together here. It's really gorgeous, just absolutely beautiful combination of colors. So it's supposed to be, it is inspired by fall foliage in New Hampshire, and it's just spot on. There was a photo that she used as inspiration for this, and I'm telling you, you guys, it was absolutely spot on to the photo. So gorgeous. This is 100% merino. And it is not superwash. It's just 100% merino wool. And with this one, she sent me, and this was so sweet. She said in here, I've included 2 different breeds for you to try. So they're just little samples. Corriedale is the pastel blend, and the staple length is between 3 and 6 inches. And the Rambouillet is the bare wool included, which has a staple length similar to merino, but she finds that the crimp makes it a tad easier to spin. I love that she included not only the breed of the sheep, but also some information about the staple length, because I'm learning about how knowing that staple length will help me kind of figure out how to draft the fiber more easily. And so it was nice that she included that information for me. So this is the Rambouillet. This is just undyed Rambouillet that I'm going to kind of play around with. And then this is the Corriedale in these beautiful pastel colors. I thought it would be kind of fun to play around with these on my drop spindle. I do have a drop spindle, folks. I know some people have mentioned that I should try using a drop spindle. This is my little drop spindle. I'm not great with this. It's incredibly frustrating to me, but I feel like now that I've started spinning on the wheel and kind of know a little bit about how that drafting should feel, it might be kind of fun to try this out to practice drafting without making like a big commitment to any kind of like spool or bobbin of yarn. Just kind of go with something small like this. So I hear you in the comment section telling me that I should try out drop spindling before getting too deep into the spinning wheel. I don't think I'm gonna just go to this altogether before really getting in deeper with that with my spinning wheel. But I think that it's a really great way to kind of supplement the craft. You know, it's another tool, and it provides me with some additional practice. So this isn't going to replace Lenita right now. And I haven't named my drop spindle. Maybe I should, but I think I will be using it, especially with these small little samples that Nicole so generously sent for me. I'll be using it to practice. So those are some recent acquisitions to kind of go along with my little spinning journey. And I'm so excited to have them. I don't know when I'm going to be spinning with them. I do need something to spin with. I have a little bit left of the bat that I was using to produce this yarn. This was my very, very, very first yarn that I spun. And I figure I'm going to go back and finish the bat that this is coming from. I don't know. I just set this down because I started becoming comfortable with the process, and I wanted to start with something fresh. And not that this is any less, honestly, like the outcome is very much the same. But I'm going to go back and finish this. So on the next episode of the podcast, I'll probably have a finished skein of this. And then maybe what I could do, if I did want to knit with this yarn and that yarn over there, I could pair them together in some kind of like chunky, funky cowl or something. I don't know. Who knows? Give me some suggestions. What do you think I should knit with my yarn? I would love to hear your suggestions. But that is what I have for my hand spun. Those are the things that I've been working on. I always love the opportunities that I get to sit here and share the things that I've been working on with you. You guys are just fabulous. Definitely drop me a line down in the comment section. I love to hear from you always. And if you took any value from this video or enjoyed yourself at all, don't forget to give the video a thumbs up. Definitely subscribe and click the bell icon if you'd like to be notified anytime I upload new content here on the channel. And until next time I see you, which will be Wednesday for the midweek ramble, happy knitting, happy making, happy spinning, happy whatever it is that you're doing. Take care, be well, and I will see you soon. Bye.